That's right. It's time for Thursday Thunder, and it is sponsored by DraftKings. Stay tuned because you'll hear more about what DraftKings has to offer throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Tony, what do we got today?
This is cooked up by the one and only Juju Gotti. This is a deep cut Thursday Thunder, ladies and gentlemen.
Deep
cut. We're not going to have big names here. We're not going to have big stat lines here. We're going to go in deep cut. Juju's been in the lab cooking up.
You mentioned deep cut. You mentioned that he's been
working.
Because you're going to say
re-emphasize
because I'm going to say the names. It cuts deep. I'm going to say the names. You're going to be like, who are those guys?
Juju, unlike against the spread,
oh Lord,
which is terrible because you guys just go off the top of your head. Juju is pouring over numbers, trying to find inefficiencies and trying to give you a smart bet because he makes he feels very bad when he loses people money. So he's legitimately trying.
All right, we're going to start in the Cavs versus Celtics game tonight at 7:05. Luke Cornett over rebounds 5.5.
What?
I want to place the bet where it's Luke Cornett over under times he does the thing where he just jumps up from 15 feet away to try and distract the shooter.
It looks like
corner.
NBA 2K when you hit the wrong button.
It's so stupid.
Second leg.
Get a hand in his face from 40 feet away.
Vegas has him for 16 over under there on the jump.
Of the jumping?
Yeah, of the jumps, yeah. Second leg, over 0.5 threes for Josh Green. All we need is one.
Just one. He's just going to take one.
One.
I don't know about I don't know about you guys. I don't know if you are still thrilled by the way basketball is played these days. But watching Indiana and New York just sort of swing it and get wide open threes all game, no matter where the defense is, it's still confusing to me to watch basketball played that way.
Last leg of the parlay, over 6.5 points for Nickeil Alexander-Walker. So again,
I like that.
Over 5.5 rebounds for Luke Cornett. Over 0.5 threes for Josh Green. Over 6.5 points for Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
Deep cut.
Deep cut, buddy.
Did you guys have any reaction to the news that Max and Disney Plus and Hulu are merging so that your future has something that, again, looks like cable in it as we move away from cable? Did anyone have any thoughts there? Because my only initial thought was a totally narcissistic one, which was we did everything we did so that, again, on Max, now we can be with Disney. How did all of that get maneuvered around?
Full circle.
How did that get maneuvered around so that now I am a Disney and we are Disney employee adjacent?
Do we get park vouchers now?
Yeah.
Do we get the
Wow.
tickets again?
Yes.
I never got those. That'd be awesome.
Many years ago, many years ago, this is a true story, the people who invented Pardon the Interruption came down to see what it is that a young, hungry and ambitious Stugotz and I were doing at the start of the radio station, and they were thinking about how to televise on Disney what it is that we were doing. And they spent about 40 minutes around our show, during which Stugotz and I were talking to Jim Brown about having tried to make an ex-girlfriend jealous by posing in Playgirl. And they packed up their stuff and left and said that they would not be televising what it is we do.
I'll take it one step further. Eric Rideholm was one of those two people that were in the room. He fell asleep inside of 12 minutes. I mean, and I was offended. I have to be honest with you.
Well, he was offended by you, and that's part of the true story, which is during that show, in the hallway, as they packed up their stuff to leave, they stopped me, and having seen Stugotz's behavior, again, the most hustling, ambitious, and hungry of Stugotz's, they said to me, both of the people who were there, oh my God, he's real. It's not that he's playing a character. That's a real thing. The only reason I bring this up is this has been the response to Zaslow during our shows, where when he talks the way that he talks and people wonder, is he playing a character? No, he is not.
Nope.
Nope, that is who he is, learning in this market from people like Stugotz and Bugshambi on how to do this. Just throw your maximum vulnerabilities in the air and be who he is. This is not false. This is a real thing that is in front of us today, and for some reason, he wants to fight the Boston Bruins. It's asinine. He's an adult with kids who are close to grown up, and he wants to fight. He thinks it's smart to look into a camera and fight Boston Bruins.
If you're not from Boston, let's be honest, who doesn't want to fight someone from Boston?
It's my favorite
no
part
one
of
likes
these
anyone
games
from
now
Boston. Yeah.
Is my behavior during these playoff games in front of my kids. It's it's the best part of this experience for me. There are two different types of sports fans. When you're a sports fan growing up and you take it serious, and you're a sports fan as an adult with kids and you take it serious. It's a completely different experience. And that's why, last postseason and now hopefully this one as well have been so magical, because it is a completely brand new experience. And I love I already told you it's my drugs, my anxiety during these games.
But drugs you take with your kids.
Oh, yes. I pump. I go, get in here. The game is starting. And my kids come in the room last night. I go, all right, everybody, this is serious room right now. I announce it right before they're going to drop
Come take drugs with daddy, kids. Come on.
Everybody put their phones down. This is a serious room. This is a serious room.
Teaching them, yes.
Yeah.
Your kids are going to remember this for the rest of their lives, by the way, because my strongest memories of my dad growing up was reacting to the Bush push, reacting to the Steve Bartman catch, reacting to the time that USC scored I think it was a punt return, kickoff return or whatever for a touchdown, and he threw a Christmas ornament at the TV. I was 30 years old. Those were the memories that you will always remember.
I love it.
As a kid.
I love
the
it.
traumatizing moments your dad screams at the TV.
The happiest I have ever seen my father was in 1986 in tighty whities, dancing around the living room because that baseball went through the legs of Bill Buckner.
Oh, what a great time. I mean.
It was joyous. My father doesn't really do joy. And again, he was sort of a bearskin rug of body hair and tighty whities. Mm-hmm. And he was dancing around in the living room because the things that you pass down to your family, Chris Cody is here, and all of his Dolphin allegiances come down like an heirloom through his family because his mom's crazier than his dad is about the Dolphins, and his dad is one of the biggest homers in the history of the media.
All true.
No lies, and no lies told here.
What's more fun, to see your dad have joy over his favorite sports team winning, or to see your dad have misery over his favorite sports team losing? Because I, too, was at the 86 World Series with my dad. He cracked open a bottle of champagne because at that time, you could bring anything into a stadium. You could bring anything anywhere. You could smoke on an airplane, okay?
What?
You could.
You
didn't know that?
No, I knew that. I'm saying you brought a bottle of champagne into the stadium?
My dad did, yeah. And he opened it to celebrate the Red Sox finally winning a World Series. And then the ball went through the legs.
I'll do you one better
It's your dad's fault.
You can smoke on an airplane. Do you realize that at one point in America you'd get on an airplane and somebody would be serving prime rib? That was a thing back before peanuts and small seats. Like
back in Coach.
It would be. I don't know if it would be in Coach. I can't say to have witnessed this. I've just read the history of the airlines. I've never seen prime rib being cut on an airplane.
I was watching an old Seinfeld episode where Jerry was in first class and Elaine was in coach, and Jerry was getting served a chocolate sundae in first class sitting next to a model, and I was like, man, do people in Dan, do you still get sundaes in first class? I know you got beans on the way home from Vegas.
No, it really does depend the first class you're doing. Like American Airlines first class and stuff, all you're getting that's better is that you get your seats a little bit bigger and you get the people, the bathroom experience is slightly less horrible because 10 people are using the bathroom as opposed to 100 people. Right? And still the 100 are coming in from the back and using it anyway. But
you get mad at that, don't you?
The longer longer the flights, I don't get mad at that because I'm trying not to go anywhere.
Do they
in
still
that
have the
bathroom.
curtain separating?
They
on
do have a
some?
curtain, yeah.
Yes, a curtain of classism. Yes, a curtain.
right.
It's
I
beaded,
like
so
that.
you can see through it. You're like, I see Dan right there.
That's
Look
right.
at him.
I see Dan flagging down the flight attendant like, they're not supposed to be up here.
Yeah, he does that.
Is this vegan?
The longer the flight and the better the first class, you can get some very good amenities. But again, not prime rib, and I wonder who in our audience doesn't know that there was a time that you could smoke on airplanes, because I've been on a plane recently where I saw the old ashtray and I'm like, this is an old ass plane, where the ashtray is on my armrest, and I'm like, good God, this thing's been feeding cancer for 50 years right here.
So tempting.
As a kid, it was always a thing for me. We would be able to knock on the cockpit door in flight.
course.
They
Yeah.
open up the door, you come, you sit down with the pilot.
Get arrested for that.
They give you a pin, an eagle pin.
Were you on
I'm,
the
si-
Rockies?
I'm in the I'm practically flying the plane.
You and
Seriously.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Hey.
I don't remember a time when you can do that. I don't remember getting in
Oh,
there
yes.
and getting in.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you walk in with your family. Your dad
And
says,
you get
"Hey,
the
can my
pin.
son come
Yep.
in?" Yeah, you
And
get
you
a
get
little
the
pin.
pin.
Yeah,
Yep.
pilot pin.
Of course.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
great.
When did they stop that?
I'm guessing 9/11.
Might have been 9/11.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, I might have been a long time before 9/11.
The world changed
for all
that
I
day,
know.
Dano.
Yeah, thank you. Certainly, flight did.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stugotz, for all your sociological observations. They're historic and enduring.
Yes, that was giving you an answer. 9/11.
Yeah, the world changed that day.
Airplane. What a movie.
Great movie.
Excellent movie.
Great flick.
Does it hold up?
I watched it recently. I mean, there's certainly jokes that I don't think would be in a modern iteration, but, you know.
Oh, for sure.
Some of it's still
1973
really
or
funny.
whatever.
Yeah,
Of course.
For sure. But jokes per minute, that movie holds the record, does it not? It is.
Yeah. Feels like they
there have
crammed a
never,
lot in.
in the history of movies, I don't believe, on average, we've done statistical numbers on the Rambo movies, deaths and violence, and how historic they are in terms of bloody. Airplane has to be more jokes per second than any movie in the history of movies.
When they go, do you want smoking or non-smoking? He says smoking, and the ticket's on fire. It's great. It's amazing.
Surely it is one of the greatest
It is, and don't
movies
call me Shirley.
of all time.
Hey!
Thank you,
Good
Tony.
job.
Alley-oop there.
You guys are just like Shaq and Barkley.
Dan, Forbes backs you up. Top 10 funniest movies ever per laugh per minute. Airplane, number 1.
Number one of all time.
Hangover, number 2.
What a stat.
I gotta think that most movies from the 1970s that are comedy, no way anyone in our audience
Get
like
me Rex
those
Kramer.
anymore.
Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day.
I need you to cut that music off and start with the music that celebrates the man who won his 3rd MVP yesterday.
Here's a start of the day from that big man, Nikola. Godlike skills put on display, but we're feeling so blasé, setting records all the time. We've become so indifferent. We're all bored, but what the hey? Jokic stat of the day.
This is from StatMuse. Jokic just won his 3rd MVP. That means he now has more MVPs than this combination of players. Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, Isaiah Thomas, Dwayne Wade, Kevin Durant, and here's the big finish, Kobe Bryant.
Oh, boy.
More MVPs than all of them combined. and all in a row, and he's amazing and great, and we're still making Anthony Edwards the next Michael Jordan, and we're still wandering around over here when you're faced with something that is impossibly unprecedented.
Needs another ring, though, right? I mean, just to validate the first one.
I don't know.
3 MVPs, 1 ring, that's 4. That puts him in rarefied air, but a second ring.
I would say that the 3 MVPs in a row puts him in the most rarefied of airs.
Well, not in a row. There's one in between.
3 out of 4.
Apologies.
Yeah, 3 out of
and then Shaq in
That's
the middle.
the one that makes me crazy.
The
Shaq.
one that Shaq
Shaq
lost
one.
to Steve Nash.
Just that. How could Shaq have been MVP one time? One time?
Nuts.
One time. Like, I know how great Jokic is, but if I told you right now, prime Jokic or prime Shaq, we're taking prime Shaq, right?
No.
No?
I mean, I know I'm like 12 years old.
Well, but hold on.
It was a different game when Shaq was playing.
Hold on. Shaq is the most dominant thing physically that we've ever seen in the history of that sport. Jokic is a different skill set for this time, right? So for this time, offensively, I think I might be tempted to take Jokic because of all of the different things that he does, but that is no insult to Shaq because wherever it is that Shaq was in his careers as he wasn't 3 MVPs. Like, he was largely career underachiever before he even got to the MVPs.
I think Shaq would find it insulting. I mean,
okay, that's fine. And Shaq told Jokic to his face, yesterday that he thought Shai Gilgeous-Alexander should have been the MVP, and a lot of people had a problem with that. I did not, and neither did Jokic, who didn't seem to care because he doesn't seem to care about much of anything. Really, the announcement that came in that he was MVP, when they scanned through the room and you saw the pomp and circumstance of the Nuggets, he seemed totally between bored and indifferent wherever that needle is that we were talking about earlier.
He gave a little, fist pump, a little bit.
but I think Shaq played during a time. It was unfortunate for Shaq because he was so dominant, and you're right, but he was playing during a time where you had Duncan, you had Garnett, Jordan was still going. Like, there were a lot of guys to choose
but it's not
from.
like Duncan and Garnett were dominating the MVP awards. Like, he was losing
Duncan
them
won
to those
2,
guys.
Zaz.
All right, but Shaq played for 15-plus years. Only one of those years could you have said Shaq was the most valuable? That's crazy.
You can make the argument. The thing that's different, and can't be ignored, okay? And you can do whatever it is you'd like with this information because it can be argued that Shaq made Wade and Anthony Hardaway and Kobe what it is that they were because he was such a dominant presence. But winning 3 MVPs with Jamal Murray as your second best player is vastly different than doing it with Wade, Kobe, and what did you call Hardaway, Tony? Afrini Hardaway. That's right.
I didn't have my glasses that day. I think that's what happened. But to be honest, Tom Haberstroh did a deep dive on Jokic's teammates, and he's never had an all-star. He's never had an all-NBA player. Nothing.
You're going to have a hard time. You're going to have a hard time explaining what all of this was to your grandchildren. When people talk about Josh Hart right now has played more minutes than Wilt Chamberlain, and we're not of the time to understand what the hell Wilt was doing, the idea that Jokic would win 3 MVPs playing that way at that size and that nobody would know that he's any good when they were drafting players just doesn't make any sense.
It's like the body shape, though, right? You think that your center is something, and then you see big, doughy Jokic, and you're like, okay, he can kind of run, he's got some moves, whatever. And then they trade Nurkic, and it's like, oh, wow, this guy's a superstar.
No, that's the key, right? If Jokic was super fit, if he looked menacing and super
If he
strong,
could jump.
brother.
If he could jump.
we wouldn't think he was as good, right? That's what it's about.
I do think he's hurt by the absence of muscles. That his thickness is it is a bit soft. It's pasty. The thickness is a little bit pasty.
But the brother looks like Tommy the Cop, like Sam Morril was saying. His brother's huge and jacked.
Oh, no, wait a minute. Look, I think one of the things, you've heard me say this before of Kawhi Leonard and James Harden, no human being listening to this understands how strong those human beings are. That's a cement mixer covered in skin moving through your lane. And its arms will get scratched, but the same way a cement mixer will get scratched when Ferrari's got to get caught under its tires. Because it's idiotic. What's moving through the lane without brakes is an ocean liner. And all of these helicopters can swoop all around, and they don't bother him because he knows he's an ocean liner.
They're all shooting bullets, but they're ricocheting off. And
all of it. All of it. It is fearless. It moves very slowly, methodically, and it does need Jamal Murray because it looks like it's going to lose in this round.
And it's down 2-0. I mean,
Bad news for the haters. I found a list of every joke from Airplane.
Oh, hell yeah.
Ranked.
oh, wow. They're great.
Really? All right. This is a hell
It's
of
the
a
wrong day to stop sniffing glue.
That's right.
This is hold on. So are you going to do a top 5 list, a top 10
You
list?
can't do a top 5 list, Dan. There's 500
There's
jokes.
176.
Do a top 10.
All right,
We'll
but
do a
you've
top
got
10.
176.
Wow.
Do you want to sort them?
The rare top 176. Go for it.
Do you want a second to gather yourself or you're just ready to go?
Let's see. Number 33.
Out of order.
Ted says, I had to ask the guy next to me to pinch me to make sure I wasn't dreaming. And then the guy pinches him.
That's too high.
Too high.
That's really funny.
I tried to look
Kidding me?
through to find what I could read.
32.
27. When Ted recalls
skip
crashing
Jamal
while
Murray.
flying in the war, he also recalls
Hey.
old-timey plane crashes. Current montage. It's become a meme now.
I could see that.
Too high.
I can give you
I
one
wasn't
off.
ready to read these.
I can give you one off the
Well,
dome.
but you
announced it.
said you came to the microphone.
and I thought you were going to give me a minute, and then I was going to be like,
Dan,
here's
I
the
got
top
you.
5.
I got you.
I've been
I
trying
can
to
go off
scroll
the
to
dome
the
with
top
these.
for like 3 minutes.
You came to the microphone and said, I have this thing. And then when I asked you,
number
show
5.
us the thing, you're
Number
like,
5.
I don't have the
I
thing.
finally scrolled to the bottom. It
Not-
literally took me 4 minutes to scroll all the way down on my
I know, but
iPad.
you announced it, and then Dan said, do you need a minute?
You're absolutely right. And I did.
All right, do me this favor. Go sit in the penalty box.
Wow.
Get the 2 minutes to gather
Tony, we should
yourself.
act out the part where the female passenger is like freaking out. Oh wait, no, we shouldn't do that one. That one, no, we shouldn't do that one.
Go to the penalty box.
Different time.
Airplane fans know.
Gather your thoughts. Organize yourself. And when you come into the room with information you're telling us you have that information.
I finally have the top 5 though.
No, not right now. We don't need it anymore.
I
2
can give you
minutes.
one off the dome without even looking it up. When he has the 2 pairs of glasses on, he yanks one of them off, and he's got another pair of glasses on. It's great.
Airplane,
Classic.
it can't hold up. It can't. It's
I think
just,
it does,
it's not
Dan.
possible. There's no comedy from the 1970s that's going to hold up.
Oh,
It
think
can't
that-
hold up. You heard the 33rd joke. I mean, it's not going to hold
The
up.
joke Tony said was 122 on the list, by the way.
I'm telling you that it's not possible for 1973 movie for the comedy of that, for the jokes of that to hold. It's just not possible.
Dan, what are you talking about? When he asked them to take him to the airport, and the taxi guy is sitting on the runway, and he's like, the bill's running, and then everybody's honking. He's there like, I don't know, the guy's gone. He took off on a plane. It's incredible.
Are you saying Meatballs doesn't hold up?
Juju, put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show.
That's a good movie.
That's a good movie.
Is Meatballs a good movie? Because it's not.
Oh, so good.
Bill Murray.
And does any comedy from the 1970s hold up? Does a single comedy?
A correction on that, it was 1980.
Okay. Now I'm stuck.
Tell me where to watch Stripes, and you're not going to laugh your ass off.
Of course
Stripes
you
is
will.
good. Stripes is good.
He doesn't know.
Stripes is so good.
I don't know. This is my wheelhouse of movies. I loved all of these movies. I saw Caddyshack recently. I'm like, woo! Woo! Woo!
Can't do that today.
Pool in the pond. Pond would be good for you.
Hi, Mina.
Hey,
Have you ever seen Airplane?
the movie Airplane? Yeah, long time ago. Why?
I don't know. Do you think it's funny?
I watched it when I was a child and I thought it was funny, but I don't know if I would find it funny as an adult. It's been a long time. Probably.
We were talking before you came on, Mina. It's nice to see you, as it always is, about whether comedies from the 70s can possibly hold up and whether Airplane, which has more jokes per minute than any movie in the history of movies, would be something. Obviously, you have to grade on a curve for the time. Some of the stuff is going to be permissible there that would be offensive now. But so it's not going to hold up that way. But just in general, will you stop on any kind of 70s movie and stay there for a while? Because, for example, Jaws holds up for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll watch dramas and action movies from the 70s. I rarely watch old comedies generally, I think. That's pretty common, right? Sometimes from the 80s, maybe. But pretty rarely.
Where on your timeline would a movie, because 70s is a long time ago, Airplane was 1980, but where
right.
on your timeline would you reference an ancient or fossilized comedy and wonder whether or not it would still hold up today?
It's funny because I think about this right now that I have a kid. I'm like, what movies from my childhood will I share with him? And I think 90s comedies, ones that I grew up thinking were unbelievably funny, like Chris Farley movies. But how much of that is actual humor versus nostalgia, that illicit feeling of going to the movie theater alone for the first time to see, I don't know, Black Sheep or whatever. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's probably a little bit, it's funny through the lens of me being a child when I watched it for the first time. But I will say, my husband had never seen like the Adam Sandler movies of our youth, my youth, Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison, which is very funny because so many of those like phrases and jokes from that movie have entered the lexicon. And we watched it as adults for the first time, and they're very funny. I know that's not that far back, but it is. When did Happy Gilmore come out, or Billy Madison? Like mid-90s?
Those are 2000s, no?
Early 2000s, I think.
Or early
Yes.
2000s.
No, 90s.
Oh, it's the 90s. It's
Yeah?
like mid-90s.
That's old. That's 30 years. I mean, and I think,
30's pretty young.
I think they're still funny.
I'll tell you what happens here, because I was very excited to show my kids comedies from my youth, and so I tried Stripes Out. What you tend to do is build up the movie because you loved it so much. And so I did this with my kids, and I tried it out with Stripes and 48
bad
Hours.
strategy, though. Dad talking something up.
Yeah, I talked it up too much. That's the problem.
Worked
That's
for
what I'm
me
saying.
in Airplane.
Would you call 48 Hours a comedy, though?
It was. I mean, wasn't it?
Like Tootsie?
Not really.
Tootsie? Was that a big one?
I tried out Tootsie. I tried out. There were so many movies I tried out. What was Robin Williams when he was dressed as the housekeeper?
Mrs. Doubtfire.
Mrs. Doubtfire. I tried that one out of my kids. They hated all of them. All of them.
Mrs. Doubtfire?
Yeah, hated it.
You know what movie I'll be devastated if my child doesn't like? Because it's probably my favorite movie of all time, Groundhog Day with Bill Murray. Yeah. If he doesn't think that's funny.
Of all time.
They're
What
gonna
a
hate it.
quirky sense of humor to make that your favorite of all time. I mean, I'm not saying it's not funny. I liked
Really?
it too, but to make it your favorite of all time, you have to have a quirky sense of humor. It's almost obligated.
You know what's odd? Two of the other movies of the last 10, 15 years that I've liked a lot. One is Edge of Tomorrow, which is the Tom Cruise, Emily Blunt action movie that's basically Groundhog Day. And then I really liked, I think it was called Palm Springs, which was a Hulu movie. It was
Great
a TV movie
movie.
with really good. But again, that's also the Groundhog Day premise. So maybe I just like the idea of people having to relive a single day over and over.
My kids never want to watch movies that I recommend that I loved growing up, mid-90s, because they say it's too old. They don't want to sit down and watch it. And then I remember, that'd be like if when I was their age, my dad wanted me to watch a movie from the early 60s. I never would have wanted to watch that movie.
I feel like movies have gotten way better. Let's say if you go back even further, let's say you had a grandparent who's like, well, watch this movie from the 1940s. And now people who are cinephiles are probably listening to this in absolute horror. They're like, how dare you not love, I don't know, whatever, the Maltese Falcon. Nosferatu. When I say better, I mean, they're certainly more movies from the 90s and 80s are certainly more palatable to a modern audience than movies from the 40s, 30s, whatever were to people in the 50s and 60s, I think.
Can you guys give me some assistance? I always thought that Robin Williams, that Miss Doubtfire was single. I did not know that she was married or widowed. I didn't know she was
widowed.
Mrs.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't remember. I thought she was just single. I didn't know.
It's okay.
No, it's not okay. Look at the disgust on Mina's face because I would dare to think that she's Miss Doubtfire, not Mrs. Doubtfire. She's like horrified, as if I said something offensive. She wants an apology from me.
Miss Doubtfire. I'm surprised they haven't remade it as Miss Doubtfire. And maybe like the new generation she is single, and maybe she has like a robust dating life. Maybe she's on the apps. I don't know.
Tinder. Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Miss Doubtfire or Mrs. Doubtfire. See how many other people might line up with me in making this mistake.
So, guys, if you think you showed your daughters the Blues Brothers, would they laugh?
No.
No way.
No, 48 hours was probably a stretch.
Beverly Hills Cop, Trading Places.
You should have seen their reaction when I tried Rambo out. I mean, First Blood.
Just because she's a Mrs. Doubtfire doesn't mean she's not still on the menu.
Jessica, your Mrs. Doubtfire, your limited fake Mrs. Doubtfire was a real revelation. I really enjoyed. Yes, thank you for
It's
sharing.
really David Cross as Tobias Funke as Mrs. Doubtfire.
But thank you for sharing her or them with us. Mina, I want to get to some football here, but you love your music, and Steve Albini passed away, and I would just like to get some of your thoughts there, if you would share them with us.
Yeah, I my this really hit my husband hard, who I don't talk about this at all. He's a music producer. He's super influential on him. He was devastated to hear this. He had met him. I think he's going to be writing about him. But for me personally, there's the big albums we all know, obviously Nirvana, the Pixies, the Breeders. But when I saw the news, I just went down a rabbit hole of looking at his discography. And it's really interesting because Albini often wasn't identified as a producer. He's just identified as a mixer, the engineer on some of these albums. I think he had personal reasons for that. But the list is so insane. Like it is like that Wilt Chamberlain meme of, like the number, like it's crazy how many incredible albums he had a hand in, albums that were influential to me. And their albums, what I loved about looking at these lists and reading these retrospectives, they're albums where I didn't realize there was any connectivity between them. And then when you realize one man was involved in the sound behind them, suddenly you see this through line and you realize why, like maybe I'm not just a fan of McCluskey and Lowe and Superchunk and the Cloud Nothings. Maybe I'm just a Steve Albini fan because he had a hand in all of these incredible albums. Just an unbelievable sound, unbelievable impact on rock music, post-punk, indie, and yeah, it's just all I'll say is just look at the list, and I dare anyone to not find one or two albums that they love.
Mina, a couple of things here on the Brady roast. Did you enjoy it, and were you surprised that he opened himself up and did it?
Allowed everything except jokes at the expense of Robert Kraft and the massage parlor.
I wonder what the DraftKings odds were on Dan not being the first person to ask me about the Brady roast and Netflix. Here's 45 more minutes. No, just kidding, Dan. Yeah, I was there. I was in the moment. I was like, whoa, they're really going for it, especially with the divorce stuff, the Giselle stuff in particular, going so hard on that. But when I kind of, and I thought a lot of it was really funny. Comedy is subjective, obviously, but I thought Kevin Hart was like surprisingly funny. I've never been a big Kevin Hart person. I thought Nikki Glaser was hilarious. I think that seems to be the universal reaction. Some of the later comedians I wasn't familiar with, comedians who went later, I thought were pretty funny. But then when I sat back and I thought about it, they really, I don't want to say they pulled their punches, but there's a lot of stuff where I think Brady would have been more vulnerable on that they didn't go to. And instead, it was a lot of like, hey, guys, he seems gay, right? Like, especially from the teammates, which I don't think it hurts him at all to hear that. Like I saw Nikki was talking about one of the jokes she cut was on Brady getting work done on his face. There was one joke on that. I thought there was going to be a lot more on that, for example. There's just a few topics I was surprised that didn't come up. And it seemed like by the end, it's like, okay, we're kind of going to the same well. But it was really funny on the whole.
Drew Bledsoe told us that Tom Brady getting up, because I thought that was a really fascinating peek at how power protects power. Tom Brady telling Jeff Ross, no matter who you think Jeff Ross is, and Jeff Ross has been in 1,000 circumstances like this.
Jeff Ross was very concerned that he crossed the line. The entire rest of the roast, he was thinking, did I cross the line with Brady?
Well, he obviously did.
They made up afterwards.
And Drew Bledsoe and everyone who was involved with it said that was not a scripted moment. Tom Brady was caught off mic in about as honest a moment as you will find around the Patriots, where he is protecting only the owner and the shame of the owner on something that was a sex trafficking accusation organization that the owner managed to make go away with all of his money and power for Tom Brady. The part that I thought was so clear and revealing about this is where athletes have confidence and where comedians have confidence, different places. A lot of comedians are insecure. A lot of athletes get to confidence and success and power. For Brady to cut through with, hey, no more of that. You saw Jeff Ross, who is expert in that circumstance, bow. Like, okay. And I just thought that was a real interesting glimpse on how power protects power.
Yeah, I don't know how that was also in the moment we were like, whoa, was this planned? And, because it was a little bit off-putting. And I think at that point they had already done some pretty, they had really gone after the divorce, for example, which, I think that was obviously Brady knew that was coming. I'm sure it was discussed beforehand in some ways, but Giselle wasn't there. And it made me wonder, Dan, like if she was there, if he would have done the same thing. I felt like probably he was involved in getting both Bill Belichick, but also Robert Kraft to come. And I in the moment I thought, oh, maybe he feels like, well, I told Robert Kraft to come to this. And now, this favor that I pulled in, you're attacking him. And I feel bad because I called in a favor to bring him in. I don't know. It's weird. I mean, the weirdest thing in professional sports is that they call owners Mr. and nobody else gets called Mr., which feels like sort of a microcosm, or pardon me, it sort of reflects what we saw there.
You understand why both Giselle and Aaron Hernandez's family would be upset by some of the fodder that became jokes.
Did Hernandez's family come out and say stuff?
Yeah, upset. Yep, very upset.
Wow. Yeah. The Giselle thing, I mean, they didn't attack her. They sort of, the thrust of all the jokes was, ha, Tom Brady, you've been cucked, right? I don't want to say she doesn't have a right to be annoyed by having her name in the news and having, I guess, being a part of an event that she didn't agree to be a part of. I don't know. I assume that her and Brady talked about it beforehand, but I don't feel like she was attacked by it personally.
Give us your thoughts here. Chris Russo came on with us, and we've been making fun today of the fact that he had some trouble with jiu-jitsu as a word, and I just want to get your analysis as we play this for you. What was happening with Chris Russo, and a theory that Jessica has that I believe to be the most accurate one on what happened right here.
How did he lose his beautiful wife to a jiu-jitsu instructor? How you pronounce it?
Jiu-jitsu?
Jiu-jitsu instructor. I mean, that's the whole theme of the night. That she's going out with the jiu-jitsu instructor.
Did you say jiu-jitsu?
That's what he said initially.
He did.
Yes. To a jiu-jitsu instructor.
I love his producer so confused. Jiu-jitsu?
Jiu-jitsu?
Jiu-jitsu sounds like a porn that we shouldn't be talking about.
She's going out with the jiu-jitsu instructor.
Play the whole thing again, because maybe you'll get a better clue here at the end on what Jessica's theory is that I believe is accurate.
Okay.
How did he lose his beautiful wife to a jiu-jitsu instructor? How you pronounce it?
Jiu-jitsu?
Jiu-jitsu instructor. I mean, that's the whole theme of the night. That she's going out with the jiu-jitsu instructor.
Jitsu at the end.
Yeah.
What's your theory, Jessica?
My theory was that he perhaps was confused and thought that his producer was saying it was a jiu-jitsu instructor.
A Jewish person who was partaking in jitsu.
Okay, as opposed to someone who works at a zoo.
Or kazoo, or anything related to a kazoo.
To a jiu-jitsu instructor.
That's where I ended up at the beginning. Does he think that it's somebody beaten to death by a kazoo?
She's going out with the jiu-jitsu instructor.
Because then at the end he just says the jitsu instructor.
That's
She's
right.
going out with the jitsu instructor.
Like he's just afraid to say because he doesn't know how the first word
Well,
is
there are
spelled.
jitsu instructors, and then there are jitsu instructors. Like, I would be a
Jiu-jitsu
Jew
instructor.
jitsu instructor.
Same here, yes.
If I were a jitsu instructor, I'd be a Jew jitsu instructor. Yeah.
To a jiu-jitsu instructor.
But
A jiu-jitsu.
you'd be a
Jiu-jitsu.
jiu-jitsu instructor.
I'd be
You'd
a Jew jitsu instructor.
Right, but you'd also be a
jiu-jitsu.
jiu-jitsu.
Well, according to him,
Like-
just Jew jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu is what happens when Stugotz
you.
interviews Ron McGill.
Let's
Jiu-jitsu.
play the music here for, let me see here. Let's play the football music for Mina so that we can speed her up and we can get maximum football information from her. Let's start with Bryce Young. I said, and a lot of people have made fun of me for this, I'm like, they've fast-forwarded the timetable so much. These guys aren't going to get time if you need value at that position to prove itself quickly. I've seen enough to know that we're not going to allow that to mature to become the player that it might be. I think that we can make the evaluation now that that's not going to be special.
Faster, Dan.
Why am I wrong?
Oh, you're saying you're done with Young. It's over.
I'm not done with Young, but well, not all young people, just this young person.
Thank you. Yeah, I think you get 2 years now, right? Something that's like quietly I slept on a little bit is the Steelers. How quickly that they moved on. They moved on from Kenny Pickett. He was a first-round draft pick, and he wasn't horrible. He wasn't good, but I do think it's a new NFL where that regime was just like perfectly like ready to rip the Band-Aid and move on and keep going, which I think is probably the right decision, honestly. But certainly something that didn't happen years past. Josh Rosen was kind of the exception, right, with when they moved on from him in Arizona to draft Kyler Murray, but that was also because they had that draft pick. Steelers didn't have top draft pick, and they still said, nah, we're good. We've seen enough of Kenny Pickett. I think where it gets tricky is a situation like Carolina where the circumstances were so awful, it is hard to sort of, bifurcate Bryce Young's performance from how awful his receivers were, the sort of show around him. They did everything possible to invest in the offense, spent a ton of money on the interior of the offensive line. You go out, you add a bunch of receivers, but it feels like after this year, if it doesn't happen, it's not happening. And that, I think, is pretty unusual. Or it's new, rather.
Mina, did you hear what Austin Rivers was talking about? Football players playing basketball players playing football. What's your take on that?
No, I didn't. That's a thing that people talked about in sports media?
It's May. You know how it is. It's May.
It's a busy sports time. It shouldn't dominate the landscape. It's plenty busy now. We don't have to have sports radio discussions
but it's football
from 30 years ago.
WFAT, Dano.
And yet here we are. Okay. I don't know if this is the hot take on it. I haven't really seen all of the reactions, so I don't know if this is the common view. But my feeling is that neither would have success in either league, right? Certainly not 30 players. Obviously, he's talking about like current players switching leagues, I guess having time to train and whatever. I think there's just too much skill and specialization required. Like the case for the basketball players, well, who I think do have a better shot just because of the numbers. There's 3 times as many, of course, active players, and you do have more specialized roles. But I think when we think about a basketball player playing in the NFL, we think about like a tight end, like LeBron James, Zion, whatever, switching to tight end and then just like posting up in the end zone and being a red zone target. Okay, fine, but that doesn't happen. In fact, tight end is a position that's so difficult to master in the league because of all that is required of it and the nuances of both blocking and all of that rookies rarely come in and make an impact. If rookies who have been playing this their entire lives can't do it, what makes us think, like 38-year-old LeBron James could do it? I don't think either would succeed.
Well, me and Stugotz have cooked up a list of a team that we know will beat not only the Washington Wizards, but also the Charlotte Hornets. 1 through 5. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
At our point guard, Tyreek Hill.
What?
Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill, hooper.
Just because he's fast?
No, he's got an incredible three-point shot.
Yep.
Bully down
Does he?
low. Yeah, he
Yes.
does. Scored 61 points at a courtside game once.
We did some research, yes.
He's
Okay,
5'10".
wow, you did-
Yes.
He's really small.
That's
That's
fine,
okay.
Dano.
Yep,
No
that's
problem with
all
that.
right. Two guard, C.J. Stroud.
Is there a 5'10" player in the league right now? A single
That's like-
5'10" player in the league?
How tall is Isaiah Thomas?
Team is looking up for it. All right.
Right.
C.J. Stroud had 40 points on Jaime Jaquez Jr. in high school.
How about that? Yep.
Okay,
How
I like
about
that.
that?
At small forward, DK Metcalf.
Oh, DK.
Seen him
He's
play
gonna
in
like
celebrity basketball games. He always plays in like the Ruffles, Pringles, Fritos game every year, I feel like, and does pretty well.
All right, at the 4, Max Crosby.
Have you seen him play basketball?
Why?
He's incredible. He's like a
Is
power.
he?
Like he's incredible. I want you, after we're done here, go Google Max Crosby basketball. He's slamming on dudes at the park. He looks amazing.
Real hoopers know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
And at center, Myles Garrett.
Oh, wow. Of course.
Okay, so basically you
I'm
just
in on
chose
that
like
one.
the strongest 3 guys for 3, 4, 5.
We have a
Like,
guy
just-
off the bench, Hoopa Nakua.
Does he hoop? Puka hoops?
Puka Nakua.
No, he
is
wanted to just make
amazing.
a Hoopa Nakua joke.
No, see, Dan, real hoopers know Puka Nakua excellent basketball
That's a good
player.
joke.
I need to
That's a
help
good
you out
joke.
here. This is crazy.
Yeah, we got David Bakhtiari off the bench, too.
Your center's 6'4".
Miles Garrett is. Look, come on.
You're
dude.
going to get some offensive rebound problems with Tyreek Hill and your 6'4" center.
Dan, please watch the screen right now. Watch Max
They're
Crosby.
getting their asses
Playing
kicked.
with me. He's playing against me.
Okay, all right.
Tony, being in the NBA is hard. I know these guys are
Man, I
great
know that.
athletes. Let me
We're
ask.
talking about beating the Hornets.
Let me ask you this question, Mina, because multiple NFL teams have reached out to Olympic gold medalist Gable Steveson after he was released by the WWE. He's 23. He's 6'1", 265 pounds. He went 67-2 in collegiate wrestling. These are different skill sets. Yes, obviously he's strong. That doesn't make him a football player, but football players are reaching out. So the evaluation of someone like this, is it practical to think that a professional wrestler can be someone who's good at football?
Yeah, it's practical to think that the NFL has so many players, and you know, when I say like there's 1,600, I think is if you do 32 times 53. Yeah, there's that, but then there's twice that. There's all these guys that they just bring in to see, is this somebody that we can work with? For example, there's the International Pathways Program. You always hear about the NFL, like, oh, we found this guy in Germany and he played soccer or rugby or whatever, hockey. Let's see if we can make something out of him. He's moldable clay, but it takes years. I mean, you know, like for all these guys, and often when they do bring in players from other sports, we hear about them coming in and working out, and then nothing happens. You never see them on the field. It's so rare that you see one of these multi-sport athletes actually become something in the NFL.
Zaslow, do you think that a sumo wrestler would make a good NHL goaltender?
Oh my God, he's pretty good.
Isn't that the plot of Mighty Ducks? Like just taking the biggest guy and
Goldberg.
By the way, Nate Ebner would like a word.
You tell him, Tone.
Lamar Jackson playing at 205 pounds. What do we think of that?
So I was surprised to hear that, and it's something that's been on my mind because we talked about it with Jaden Daniels in the pre-draft process. Is he too small? Because he's very slight, and I think probably weighs about that. I think he came in a little bit above that, probably in water weight at the combine or his pro day or whatever. But that is skinny, and there's not that many NFL quarterbacks who are that slim, who have had success in the league. That said, Lamar Jackson's superpower, he has quite a few, but the one that I think of all the time isn't just it's not his straight line speed. It's the fact that he has this like preternatural ability to avoid hits. How many times you watch him in the pocket and he's like weirdly kind of froggering his way through traffic, and it feels like nobody can ever really square him up or get a hit on him. Jaden Daniels is not like that. That dude takes hits. So I actually think it's probably not a big deal if it's a weight that he's comfortable with.
Lamar Jackson, our backup two guard, by the way. That's exactly why you said is he gets in the lane, Euro stepping by people.
Boom.
Great finish off the glass.
Off the bench.
Again, you guys underestimate how good NBA players are.
You underestimate how good
So
Lamar is.
disrespectful.
Yeah.
OBJ to the Dolphins. Your thoughts there? That seems useful.
That's a great take, Dan. That seems useful. I feel like you just TLDR'd like a week of football contact. That seems useful is really all that needs to be said. You guys know with the Dolphins, it's kind of felt like, okay, who is the third option, right? If you're facing these defenses that are, I don't know, playing these too high coverages, or they're bracketing Tyreek Hill, and there's a safety helping out Jalen Waddle, somebody's open, but it has felt like there hasn't been that third option who is a reliable target for them, who works that short to intermediate part of the field and gets yards after the catch. And I do think OBJ, while he's obviously not 2014 OBJ, he can do that. He can still take a slant for 20 yards if given space. He is a reliable third down target. He has good hands. He had very low drop rate in Baltimore. So I don't think it's, this massive impactful change or addition rather, but I do think he is a useful player. I remain puzzled why the Dolphins didn't do more to address the offensive line, but I'm a broken record on that year after year after year. But I do like that signing.
Number one, the scene where the little kid tells Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who's the pilot, he's like, hey, aren't you Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? And then he's like,
I'm Roger Murdoch.
I'm Roger Murdoch. And then the kid's like, my dad says that you don't play very hard and like you don't run fast enough and you're a bad player.
You only show up in the playoffs.
And then
he
you only
said,
show up
kid,
in the playoffs.
yanks him in real close. He says, kid, tell your old man to try carrying Lanier and Walton up the court every night.
That's so good. Airplane, am I right, guys?
He also, by the way, is such a. This is what I do remember. Is such a good athlete. Is he like one of the top 5 athlete actors?
That's the list that I'm gonna do. That list tomorrow.
Ooh, Shaq's up there for sure.
Mina, we have less than 30 seconds here. Do the Bears have the best wide receiver core in the NFL?
No, I don't think they have the best wide receiver core. I still think there's some 1-2 punches that are ahead of them. Miami, Cincinnati, since Higgins is coming back. And then, of course, the Doomsday is a rookie, but they're top 5.
Faster.
You know what's funny? You're doing this. Can I tell you? Can I let you in on something? I actually haven't told you this for weeks. You've been playing the music. I don't hear it. For whatever reason, the audio isn't going through. So you've been doing this all like,
sound?
It's actually not. It hasn't been coming into my ears for weeks, and I just haven't told you. You're saying that, and I don't. Oh, now I can hear it. Yeah. Okay. Damn, I shouldn't have told you.
Juju, what were the complaints about today? I know that Stugotz has taken over with WFAT. There's a lot of New York coverage. I imagine that the reaction to that in Miami isn't great, but I am staying out of social media, and you are my guardian angel protector, so I don't have to go into that hellhole and see all of the things that nasty things people are saying about the show. So update me, sir. What's been the reaction to today's show?
Yeah, just a lot of people are shocked to find out that Zaslow is, in fact, Zaslow. They are drinking him in, wanting to fight the Boston Bruins players. They, let's just say they aren't being as nice as we would wish about those things.
Yeah, understood. Yes, he is very sports radio, and he came in here, and he came here very aggressive today. He was amped up because it's playoff hockey time.
Hell yeah. But yeah, so yeah, drink him in, ladies and gentlemen. He's never changing. Also, people loved Stugotz's Reggie Miller takes. At first it sounded like a little offensive, but the people seem to be agreeing, dog. They like, what has Reggie Miller done? This is not my opinion. This is people on the internet. They agree that they are tired of Reggie Miller. Take those 9 seconds away, and he is not a Hall of Famer. He's not even the best basketball player in his own family. The people are agreeing.
Well, people did seem to like that line around here as if it was Stugotz's. I've only been hearing that all of Reggie Miller's professional life. Like a lot of people were hearing that line for the first time, but he's been getting that he's Cheryl's brother for a long time. What else did they have to complain about? I know that I got one here put in front of me that was funny, yelling at Tony saying, "That's your beef with the Catholic clergy?" There are more meaningful ones than they got you a whole bunch of holy water to the side of your face. What else are people complaining about?
That's pretty much it. The people are very much anticipating your Kenny G episode on Friday. We're getting a lot of love for that, especially the videos y'all made this week. People are highly anticipating that. Outside of that, man, the Bruins, Panthers, they got the people juiced right now.
He was Kenny G was and is great. I'm looking forward to coming out Friday. It was very long. We talked for a long time. His energy does not wane. He's got a very playful spirit for somebody who's approaching 70 years old. What is the reaction, Juju, in general, to the New York stuff, right? Because I've told people before that as I'm walking around in Miami, people are upset with me and our show for how negative it was about the Heat in general, and more specifically, how it has taken on New York correspondents, basically because I just want to talk to Sam Morrell and Marrow more often, but people are reacting how to WFAT and Stugotz's takeover.
Yeah, they don't like that at all. The Miami people are standing up. They're joining forces. They're saying at least we can get an Indiana Pacers correspondent to combat all of this Knicks load that we getting right now, what we giving. And I take part in it as well. As soon as the Knicks win, I throw my sister Jessica, I throw my dog Taylor, David Sampson, the real, true, original Knicks fans that I know. So I play a part in it, but maybe we get an Indiana Pacers correspondent to come on. Do we know any Pacers?
Mike Epps.
We'll look into
it.
Oh,
that's a good one.
Juju, what I'm hearing is that the audience loved when we talked about Airplane for 2 segments today. There's no negative comments about Airplane. So we're going to bring that back on Friday's show as well. We're going to do a full listing of all of the best jokes from Airplane.
All right.
I cannot wait.
You're promising people that you are going to formulate and craft. You're going to sculpt a little something with care tonight to unleash upon.
Wait, what? Homework?
Well, it just sounded like that. No, that's not what you're doing. You're not going to come with.
It sounded like you were going to.
It sounded like you were going to promise them something and tease something for 24 hours from now. Okay, no.
I got a tea time later, Dan.
All right.
WFAT.
How did people feel about Doggy Juju?
Yeah, they was talking about he looked like he just rolled out of bed. I don't know. Him and Pablo need to treat this more like a professional setting that it is. Like I put on my best glasses every time I come on this show and my best fur headband. As soon as I see you want to talk, them boys be rolling out of bed with crush still in their eyes, or the breath still be damned. Like, come on, y'all, let's get it together. But I'm not morning bedhead shaming or crust in the eye shaming, but I just think those brothers could take this a little more serious than they are taking it.
Well, wouldn't you say in general that you are your needle, we talked a lot about that needle today, your needle runs pretty close to disgusted with the general hygiene of everything that happens around our show?
Yes, absolutely. Oh, my God. I got sick 2 times ago when I came down there just for being in there. I ain't even touch anything. It's just... Ever since I seen my brother, and I love my brother, oh my goodness, if anybody out there put a hand on him, I'm coming over and 100%, I'm going to knock you out. But since I seen my brother Jeremy Taché with his finger in his mouth in the damn Heat stadium, I could not believe that that's the way people are getting down after, post-COVID.
So, Dan, people wanted me to come to the microphone and talk about hundreds, potentially thousands of years of ill doing by a religious establishment. They wanted me to come and say it. That's what they wanted?
They also wanted you to do more airplane jokes.
Oh, well.
Yeah, tomorrow, those are coming. Jessica is going to spend the entire evening crafting, looking through all hundreds of the airplane jokes in our most joke-filled movie ever. Juju, would you believe that any movie from the 70s, a comedy, holds up? Do you have anything from the 70s that you would say comedically 50 years later can hold up?
Yeah, I definitely do. Off the top of my head, Cheech and Chong, whenever there was a lady, she was in the kitchen, and she snorted a line of Ajax, and she thought it was cocaine, and she was like, like, bruh, every single time. That made me laugh, dog. So all them movies hold up to me. Cheech and Chong for sure.
It's got to go in the club.
I think also needs to go in the club a couple of the sounds from today's show, because I will say that 2 things that were funny from today's show is the confusion around Mad Dog and whether he thought jitsu was something that only is partaken in with and by Jewish people.
How did he lose his beautiful wife to a jiu-jitsu instructor? How you pronounce it?
Jiu-jitsu?
Jiu-jitsu instructor. I mean, that's the whole theme of the night. That she's going out with the jiu-jitsu instructor.
Nah, bro. Salute to Mad Dog, man. Also, we going live tonight for the alley-oop posters, all this NBA action. You feel me? We going live with some of the most brilliant basketball minds in the history of planet Earth. So lock in, please.
I encourage all of you to check out what Juju is doing after the game with a cast of characters of his imprint, because he wants to cover some of these games a little more seriously than we do around here sometimes. But here I will.
We can just end the post game. We don't got to play the other clip.
I will close here with playing for Juju, Chris Cody saying hello to Mad Dog when he greeted him in an 1890s saloon.
What's up, doggy? What's up, doggy? I'm never going to live that one down.
Did y'all grow up together?
What's up, doggy? Stugotz calls him doggy. All right, we're out.